welcome to Garden Dibber episode 2. No sunshine today, it's overcast and cloudy outside. Not often I wish the sun to be clouded over, but today I'm quite glad of it. Now here's the dibber I made yesterday, and I have considered I might have a problem for my handle. This is actually a really comfortable holding size. So I don't really want my handle to be much bigger than this, which means I'll have problems making a hole big enough in the handle to fit this end into. So I've decided what I'm going to need to do is make my handle a comfortable, usable feeling size, cut a hole in it for the dibber to go into, be glued into, and then reduce this end to the right size to fit into that hole. I suspect I'll have to do that with my hand carving knife, which is not a problem. It'll just take a bit longer because this is too small to fit in my woodchuck, and I can't grip this end all nice and finished. So it looks like I'll be finishing this end off by hand, which is fine. So having made that decision, let's find a piece of wood for our handle. Okay, I've decided on this scruffy looking bit of wood. I think it'll do quite nicely for a handle. It's also willow, the same as the dibber is. Not that that matters. The end I need to cut off, it's all chewed up here, I think from the chainsaw. So flatten that off, and then we start knobbly branchy bits here. I'll possibly cut just this side of it and leave these knobbles on to start with, just to give me some waste wood to work with, and make my handle out of this piece here. So I'll cut that up and get us mounted on the lathe and see if I can make a handle for my dibber. I wonder if my chosen piece of wood will fit in the woodchuck without me cutting it any smaller. That would be fantastic. Let's give it a try. I think it might be a little too big. Ooh. Yay! It fits! So I'll just start straight up with that in there. I'll see if I can break that bark off first. That's better, then it'll be gripping wood. That'll go in there. Right, let's get dressed again. Apron. Ear defenders. And I won't forget my visor this time. But hopefully a quick little handle. Oh, there's my wavy bit. It does that. Close and far away. Gosh, gets even further away there. Oh, pretty patterns. Well, I'm very hopeful this is going to make a beautiful handle. got a little bit of bark showing. That's a shame because that would be quite a nice fatness. Well, there we are. That's going to be my handle. What's that like in comparison? There. Oh, perfect. So this is... the handle is the same width as the end of my dibber. Never mind, we'll deal with what we have. We'll see what it's like when I get to drilling a hole in it. I might have to do something else with it. Use this as a handle for another piece. Well, that's probably a perfectly good length for my handle, but I'm going to carve a bit more here just so that I can choose which piece I'm going to cut out when I finish. I'm ready to sandpaper that. Now 120 to a 220, so let's do some sanding. That looks lovely. I've got a little rough, gougy, branchy bit here, but we cut past that. And handle, that's good. Have a parting tool. Let's do some parting. Just past that rough bit there. I also think I'll round that end a little bit while we're on the lathe. Let's, from there, handle, dibber in the middle, and cut about here. No other, about there. Well, I'm going to polish this up. Little bit of polish with my beeswax. Beeswax, carnauba wax and linseed oil. It's got some beautiful patterns in this bit of wood. Now I'm thinking this is going to be easiest to drill a hole in while it's secured in the lathe. So I'm going to do that next before I cut it free. Thankfully I have a set of these drill bits, so hopefully I'll have one small enough to make that hole. That looks about perfect. It's a lot smaller than the one I had yesterday. What about this? Is it too big? Yes, too big. It would make the sides on the handle too thin. Therefore not strong enough. I want to make the dibber strong, but I don't want to make the handle too weak. My handle's narrower than my dibber. It is what it is. So if I go that size, that'll keep my handle quite strong. Oh, I need to find the middle as well. Where's my ruler? So my handle is 16 centimetres. So 8 is the middle. How wide are we? 3.5 centimetres wide. About there for my middle. Now I am aware this still might slip that way and I can't lock it, so I might hold it to stop it spinning, but at least it won't be moving around. That should do, I think. Yes. Now then. So this needs to be that. Could I make that wider? Where's the next one up? And it will make the sides thin. No, I like the thick, strong sides. Especially for this big head, then it's only a little bit there. I don't know. I want a fatter handle. I can't get that under there to show you. It's slightly thinner than the dibber, and I think it should be slightly fatter than the dibber. Shall I make another one? I'm going to cut this one off the lathe, see how it looks against the actual dibber, and I might decide to get a slightly fatter log and make another handle, because that worked quite nicely, and I can always keep this handle and use it for a smaller dibber or a different tool. So that's what I'm going to cut this off. Start with this end first, and then we'll cut it off the wood chuck second. Holding the coping saw upside down so the teeth are in the right direction to cut this piece of wood free from the lathe. Well, I have a very nice handle. I don't think it's big enough for the dibber I've made though. Things kind of look a little disproportionate. Mainly because my handle is slightly narrower than the dibber itself. I think it needs to be the same size or wider, even if I do shave this into set shape. So I'm going to make another handle and keep this and use it for some other future dibber or tool. A smaller dibber perhaps. I don't know. An enormous corkscrew. So I've decided my original handle is too small for the dibber. It's slightly narrower than the dibber stem. That doesn't balance out very well. Yes, I can cut this down so it's small enough to fit in the hole, but it just doesn't really look right. I want the handle to be at least this fat, if not a little bit fatter, just so things look balanced. So although this is a lovely handle, I'm very pleased with it. I'm going to try and make another one that's slightly fatter so it'll balance better on the dibber. I had my daughter and grandson come to visit, so I had to stop what I was doing, and when I went to switch off the camera I realised you weren't switched on, which was terrible. You missed a chunk of what was happening. So I've got myself a piece of pine that will hopefully make a slightly fatter handle than the one I've already made, and I did start because I've already chiselled this piece here. But I've only just started, got most of it to do. So let's get kitted up and see if we can make a handle with this that fits the dibber better. Start in the middle. Make that a nice handle thickness. It's a nice piece of wood. That feels nice. Looks good with a dibber. That's the depth I'm heading for. Out of interest. It should hopefully be slightly fatter. A little bit fatter than the dibber. Tight on there and a bit of movement. Perfect. So that's my depth. A little ridge there, I can feel it slightly, but I'm going to sandpaper it off. So 120, I'm going to use that first, it's quite coarse. This is pretty smooth, mind you. Something I've found that does work very nicely is holding the hoover nozzle next to the sandpaper when I'm sanding a piece. It sucks away all that fine dust. And here I've decided to use my first handle as a sanding block for my second one. Keep things nice and straight. Oh, that's lovely and smooth. This was quite a nice length. A dibber, handle, pencil. Decided I'd like to make my new handle just a tiny bit longer than my original one, so I'm using it as a measuring stick. But not much longer, millimetre, perhaps I'll cut just out of that, not sure. Now, just as before, I'm using the parting tool to mark the end of my handle and start cutting it free from the lathe, and using the spindle gouge to round off those ends. Lovely. We're not perfectly balanced to either side, but a garden dibber will do. Now for a little wax polish just to make it all shiny. Now to find the centre point so I can drill the hole and attach the dibber. 18. What was my original? It's a little tiny bit wider. This was 16, so 2 centimetres wider. So 9 and 9 is 18, so 9 is our middle. And then centre that way. 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. So there. This was the little one that fitted in there. This time I could be the next size up. So that one would be fine. What about the next size up again? Ooh, maybe. Man, that's rusty. Nope, that one. So just as before, drilling a hole so I can fit the handle onto its dibber. Now that's done, once more taking the coping saw upside down and cutting this second handle free from the lathe. Yay! A handle! Woohoo! The sandpaper there. Oh, don't need it that side. I have a handle! Yay! There's my dibber, and here's my handle. I'm going to fit on the end. Nice! So now to carve this down so it'll fit in that hole, because I'm a little bit too fat. At last, we're nearly there. So I have my dibber, a spare handle for some future project. It's too small for this dibber, but a very nice handle. And my second big chunky handle that's going to go very nicely with this dibber. But the end I made for my dibber is too big for the hole in my handle. I don't want to make this hole any bigger. That will make my handle weak. So I'm going to carve this down using my carving knife and just whittle it away till it's the right size to fit tightly into this hole. I also have some wood glue. I have an exterior wood glue because this is a garden dibber and will be used outdoors in damp conditions. So I'm going to use an exterior wood glue to help secure the dibber into its handle. So let's get whittling. More gloves. These are specially for my sharp knife, just in case I slip, I won't cut my fingers off. So on my leg and, which way can you see best? That way. My legs are nowhere near it, there's lots of space. On my sharp knife, I'm cutting away from myself. So if that snugs in tight, which it will now, I'm going to hammer it in. Let's bring, so if that's going to snug tight into my wood here, I want to taper this bit just slightly so it doesn't end in a stop. I want it to smooth into it. Just bringing that in on the edge. It's better, tapering in slightly here. I'm going to sandpaper that with the drill, just to tape this bit here. Just to taper this in nice and smoothly, then glue and hammer the handle on. Drill sandpaper. So now I've tapered this in gently. So we don't get a rough end, and this should fit tightly and snugly over the top. So I'm going to put some glue on this, or in the hole and around here, and bash it in really firmly. Now I don't cut, oh there we go, there. Now I tend not to cut off the designed nozzle on my glue, nice and easy for squirting, but then this just dries out and lets the air in. So I just use it as a screw cap. We want to pour some glue in this hole, blow out the dust first, while closing your eyes, even with glasses on. Glue all over, oh you can't see! So I've put some glue in the hole, and just smeared it about with my finger, and all around the handle. I don't want to hammer it. I'll damage it. And a bit of wood. But here's our dibber, finally! Our pine handle and our willow dibber. So I've done a little extra work with the drill sander just around the top of the dibber here, so I can blend it in nice and smoothly under the handle. And I'm very pleased with the finished results. It's looking lovely. If I stand the dibber on the chair, we can see the handle sitting nice and straight because the dibber's going straight up. One nice long knee-length dibber. Yay! For dibbing in the garden. Ding! So that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching me on this 2-day make. And we'll see you next time. And remember, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it. If you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to click that like button and let me know. Click subscribe and YouTube will make sure you see my next video. So bye for now, and we'll see you next time. And don't forget, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it. So here we have it, a long garden dibber. Looks like a croquet mallet. That's something else you could make on your wood turning lathe. A croquet mallet. I don't play croquet, so no need to make a mallet. Though I might do in the future. It would be a great toy for the grandchildren. A couple of mallets and a wooden ball to play croquet with. Oh, that's a really good idea. I just might do that. A couple little short croquet mallets and a nice wooden ball. They'd have great fun. A job for the summer.